welcome everybody to this week's episode of the
Geek
Buddies.
And I know that gentleman in the middle is very happy to be back. We'll get to why in just a second. Just want to thank you all so much for downloading this episode or downloading it on the podcast feed, watching it here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am one of your hosts, the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by these two gentlemen to my left. The gentleman in the middle there.
I am the man in the middle. I am Michael Vogel, writer, producer of animated TV shows and movies. And to not the middle is...
This is Shannon McClung, all the way on the left, and I'm a television actor and an animation writer, where you may have seen me on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Goldbergs, and Silicon Valley.
Man, my hair's getting so long, it's going to creep into the middle and the left, for God's sake. This is out of control. But, Mike, you couldn't come with us, or couldn't be with us last week. Kalinowski was incredible to sit in. Another great episode. Over 3,000 views already. Fantastic stuff. People are coming to the Geek Buddies train in large numbers now, and it's great to see. But tell us why you weren't available last week, my man.
Well, I had a lovely Christmas here in Los Angeles. I got a very special gift this year in 2020. I got the gift of the Rona.
Oh!
Yeah, I got COVID for Christmas. And so I was laid out on the couch, sleeping, drinking lots of liquids, and recovering, because anybody who follows the news knows that currently in Los Angeles, we are at about 1 in 5 people tested are testing positive for corona, and I was part of those statistics over the holidays.
Is it
so?
How was your how are you feeling? Have you fully recovered? Like, what's the situation?
Yeah, I think pretty much fully recovered. Fortunately, it was a very mild case.
Okay.
You never know when you get it, if you're gonna take a turn for the worse or whatever. But definitely super tired. Definitely lots of coughing and congestion. Really tired, just really tired a lot. But fortunately for me, not huge fevers. I think I had a little bit of a fever the first couple nights, but other than that, no major fevers. I had a lot of friends sending me a lot of vitamins in the mail. So I have more bottles of vitamins than I know what to do with currently. I have a brand new thermometer for my forehead. I got one of those cool things you put on your finger to test your oxygen flow. That was really exciting. Got to test my oxygen multiple times a day. But yeah, for the most part, there was just a lot of lying around. And, fortunately, trying to look on the bright side of things, there's that week between Christmas and New Year's where literally nothing is going on in the world. And usually I really enjoy just taking that time off and relaxing and watching TV. And although it was not as relaxing as I might have preferred, I basically laid around all week, did nothing, and watched a lot of TV. So
that's good.
That was good, but definitely glad to be feeling better. Sorry to miss last week's episode, although I think it's probably for the best, because Kalinowski was great, and I think he probably would not have come on the show if I had been here, because he would not have wanted to argue Wonder Woman 84 with me. So it was a pleasure to listen to as I was recovering at home. And I have a lot of thoughts, but I thought it was lovely.
That's great. This has been the Geek Buddies coronavirus update, brought to you by the Geek Buddies. Here he is back, Michael.
I will say, the one other thing that I will say about it is, I mean, obviously, particularly in LA, it's really bad right now. But
it is.
No idea how I got it. Nothing crazy had gone on that I.
Shannon, care to weigh in on this?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Mike has the floor.
No idea. No clue how I got it. I did see a very, very small group of people on Christmas, and everyone who I saw on Christmas ended up getting COVID. But none of us know where it came from. So that will be a mystery. So definitely be careful, wear your masks, socially distance. It can sneak right up on you. Yeah. And if you do get it, lots of liquids and lots of sleep.
There you go. Yeah. So a bunch of people got it who hung out with each other. All right, interesting. We can't figure out who it is that gave it to you, but I got my thoughts. I got my investigators on it. I've got my investigators.
Okay.
Jessica Fletcher. Wait, what was her name? Was it Murder, She Wrote? Was it Jessica Fletcher? I don't know. I got her on it. Angela Lansbury, still alive. She's on it. She's figuring it out. She's going to find out. Anyway, let's get into what we got to get into today. For those of you who are new to the show, thank you so much for taking the chance on us here on the Geek Buddies. For those of you listening to us as well, thank you so much for downloading it. For those of you who are returning champions to the Geek Buddies, thank you so much for continuing to stay on the train with us here today. For those of you who are new, what we usually do is we each bring up a geek news item. We talk about it for a few minutes, do about 3 of them, then take a little bit of a mini break and jump into our main topic. And our main topic today is going to be looking at the DCEU as we have now turned the corner into 2021 with Zack Snyder's Justice League on the way. Matt Reeves' The Batman coming out in 2022, and the huge social media uproar that happened for a few hours when people took a particular comment by Walter Hamada and thought it meant that Michael Keaton would be the Batman now, settling into the new DCU. So we will talk about all of that and what will happen with Batman going forward there. But first, let's get into our first geek news item. Who's got this one?
That would be me. So here at the Geek Buddies, we love to talk movies. We love to talk TV. We dip our toe in the video games every once in a while. But something that we don't touch on probably enough is the world of comics, the world of books. And this week, there are 2 huge launches happening in the world of graphic novels and multimedia. First, we have DC's Future Slate, which is running after, Death Metal? Dark Knight's Death Metal. That kind of sets up Future Slate. And also, we have the official launch of Star Wars: The High Republic, which takes place a couple of centuries before the Skywalker saga. We've got a 700-year-old Yoda, spry, young in age. This is really, really exciting. Look, John actually has The Light of the Jedi. I think that's the first novel, I believe. And you've got another one too, right, John? Yeah.
The Test of Courage.
Yeah.
So especially with the High Republic, I mean, they're kind of touching everything. They've got novels, they've got they've got comics. They also have a manga line. I mean, this is pretty big, and it definitely lends credence to the fact that Disney is really pushing Star Wars in all different directions. But gentlemen, I have my thoughts. What do you think?
Well, this is a massive bit of news because we get a new timeline now, Mike and Shannon. This is really interesting. Things are now even more delineated. We used to have 3 separate ages in Star Wars. Now we've got more, and they released them here. Let's take a look at them real quick. Got the High Republic, Fall of the Jedi, Reign of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, The New Republic, and Rise of the First Order. Those are, and you see there the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, pretty much the prequel trilogy, and the Clone Wars are under Fall of the Jedi. Reign of the Empire includes the upcoming Bad Batch, and then the Solo, a Star Wars story, which has already been released a couple of years ago. Age of Rebellion includes Star Wars Rebels, Rogue One, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. The New Republic is The Mandalorian and possibly the Book of Boba Fett and the Ahsoka Tano series. Rise of the First Order, of course, is Star Wars Resistance, the animated series, for those of you who may not know that one. The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. So a lot here, Mike, to kind of consider, and Star Wars kind of changing things on the fly, but I think this is necessary now with all this new extra media coming out so that people can understand where things are happening and where things are placed. Because that's the one thing people get confused about all the time, Mike, is timeline. And it doesn't help that you have a Clone Wars that you have to kind of watch out of order in order to catch up. So I think this is their way of kind of getting ahead of the curve a little bit as they prepare to launch all these new series and movies.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super excited about all of this. My book is on the way. It said Amazon said it's arriving today. It's what I am planning on reading this evening. But I'm super excited to jump into the High Republic stuff. I've been excited ever since they announced it. So I think Star Wars, and to their credit, does a good job sort of keeping us in the areas that we like. Even Mandalorian, which is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, or all of the stories like Solo and Rebels and Rogue One that take place between the prequels and the original trilogy, and kind of areas of history where we know what came just before and we know what's about to happen, and we love seeing characters exist in that. And it's great that they're going to continue to do that. But just as like when the Old Republic video games came out and all the Old Republic stuff came out back in the day and people got excited, the High Republic is really, really interesting because it's new. It's just a whole era of Star Wars that we don't know anything about. And I think they've done a really good job of making this feel like a major release. I mean, when just looking at social media, looking at Twitter, Star Wars fans are kind of embracing all of this stuff the way that they would embrace a new animated series or a teaser for a new TV series or movie. So I'm very, very excited to dive in. I'm excited to meet some new Jedi. I'm excited to see a younger Yoda. I think my favorite thing about all of it, though, I do have to say on Twitter is certain Star Wars fans getting mad that we are referring to the era of the prequels as the fall of the Jedi. And there's some kind of weird, like, this is Star Wars and Lucas and Disney trying to say that their SJW Jedi and the High Republic are cooler and George Lucas's Jedi are lame because they're calling it the fall of the Jedi. And I'm just like, no, they're calling it the fall of the Jedi because that's what happens in the stories.
Yeah.
But so I will say, not to give it a bunch of credence, and I'm not saying it's a ton of Star Wars fans, but I was just kind of scrolling through social media and I just started giggling because I was like, how dare they call that the fall of the Jedi? Those 3 movies where all the Jedi fall. Don't call it that.
It's confusing what fans will get upset about. It's at times frustrating and infuriating because no one's reading that into it sometimes until you put it out there. And then all of a sudden you're getting people involved, and you're getting people to think a certain way. Funny how that works in certain situations. You create a fictitious thing and people go along with it and then use those people's anger that you stirred up as the reason for you to keep stirring up more anger. It's just ridiculous what happens there. And a little update on the High Republic, according to Star Wars official site, it's the time period that takes place some 200 years before the events of Phantom Menace. It's considered the golden age of the Jedi Order when peace reigned throughout the Republic in this time. It was during this era that expansion in the Outer Rim happened, including planets like Tatooine. So that's a little bit, but they're not giving away too much, Michael. You're right about that. They're kind of letting us discover it. I can't wait to dive into it myself. Probably not tonight, but at some point in the next couple of days, I will start this thing. And maybe we'll do a review of it for the Geek Buddies, brother. If we both finish it, it'd be kind of fun. And if Shannon wants to jump in too. So, yeah.
And on the other, I'm excited about the DC stuff as well. I'm really, really looking forward to kind of diving in. I've been behind on my comics, and I kind of look at this as a new opportunity to sort of dive in. I think today we have Harley Quinn, Superman in Metropolis, Swamp Thing, The Flash, the new Batman comic, the next Batman, the Future State Wonder Woman. So there's a lot of good stuff to check out today. So I will definitely be purchasing some comic books as soon as I get off my Geek Buddies weekly podcast as well.
Yeah, how's this working, Shannon? Are you still collecting comic books, or you kind of walked away from that for a while? What's your feeling on that right now?
I typically don't get a comic until it has been released in a hardback.
Okay.
I might read an
compilation.
Issue. Yeah. I mean, I might read an issue or two over at Vogel's place. If he's like, hey, this one is particularly good, I'll sit down and read that.
Hey, I got antibodies now. Come on by. I'm just kidding. That is not how you should treat your antibodies. Still wear masks. Still socially distance.
I'll meet you on the patio.
Some socially distant comic book reading.
We'll do a handoff on the patio. Bring a very dry alcohol wipe so we can wipe the comics down. But yeah, I mean, like the Darth Vader comic that came out right at the beginning of Star Wars pushing back into the comic book space. I mean, Darth Vader. It came out in 2 volumes, and I've got both of those, and I reread those regularly just because the storytelling is so fantastic. And something else that's great about the High Republic, and Mike saying that, this is an area that we haven't touched on. This is also the area that is going to be at least the backdrop for the Acolyte, which is the Disney Plus series that's coming from Leslie Headland, who is the creator behind Russian Doll.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the only real question, as far as all of the Star Wars media that's been announced in the past few weeks, the only question about where it fits, most things you can kind of look at what they are and what they're about or what they're attached to, and this is mostly the New Republic. This is, like you said, the Acolyte is going to be tied to the High Republic, is Patty Jenkins' movie, Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
When Kathleen Kennedy announced it, she called it a bold new era of Star Wars, I believe, or going into a bold new era. So there's a question of, is this the movie that's going to, or, I mean, Taika's movie we know very little about as well, but are these the movies that are going to take us post the Rise of the First Order. Like what is after Rise of the First Order, I think is one of the big questions, and be awesome for Patty Jenkins if she got to sort of help define that. So that remains to be seen.
Agreed. I mean, there was a Nintendo 64 game, Rogue Squadron, that was, I don't know if it was post New Hope or post Empire. I think it was post New Hope, but that is, they used that title before, Rogue Squadron. And so, and just the fact that they have an X-Wing in there, we know it's not prequel era. We know it's not before prequel era because we didn't really see X-Wings until Rogue One. And maybe in different media that I'm not aware of. Well, so it could be anywhere in there.
Rogue Squadron, I mean, traditionally is Luke's squadron of X-Fighters. I mean, that's what it through the games and through the publishing and everything else. Like that is Luke's squadron, and kind of post Rogue One, it's been established in the comics that he named it after Jyn Erso and everyone on Rogue One who went and sacrificed their lives on Scarif to get the Death Star plans. I think that's correct. And if it's not, I am sure somebody below is going to correct me on it. But I believe that's right. Obviously, Patty Jenkins is not doing a Rogue Squadron movie about Luke Skywalker fighting during the rebellion. So it'll be interesting to see if this is in the same way that Luke named his named Rogue Squadron after Jyn Erso and everybody. Is this a new generation of fighter pilots that are naming their squadron after Luke's, or is this a continuation of Rogue Squadron? So I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm definitely curious about that.
Yeah, for all the turning of the corner, it's still going to have a connection to Skywalker. So whether it goes forward without any Skywalkers in it, you'll still have some semblance of a Skywalker reference in it. So not fully a complete break, but it is what it is. And we just saw Luke in a certain TV show, or so
we did.
So I'm not gonna say which show, but it was great to see it. So they're not walking away from it.
He was on the season premiere of This Is Us.
Yeah, that's right. He was. I want to make a rival show called This Is Actually Us that isn't tear-jerking and emotionally manipulative. But that's just me. As far as Star Wars Squadron, make a great reference here. Shannon does take place between the events in the films A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. The player controls Luke Skywalker, commander of the X-Wing pilots, blah, blah, blah. The first 16 missions occur across various planets. And from what I'm reading here, because I didn't play this, I don't think, the first 15 levels, is that right, occur through this time as well. First 15 levels occur 6 months after the Battle of Yavin. But I think Michael's absolutely 1,000% right. It's not going to be anywhere near Luke Skywalker doing anything during that time. They definitely want to kind of make that break and go forward with something new.
Yeah, that game was a blast. I mean, I'm playing Star Wars Squadrons now, which is the first person. You're in the X-Wing or you're in the TIE Fighter, and I gotta tell you, like when I played Rogue Squadron, the thing that I loved is I like the third person view, which is you're kind of seeing the ship go back and forth. There is no third person option on Star Wars Squadrons, so you are literally in the cockpit. Which is fun for about a second, but as I've gotten older, we've talked about this, I get a little motion sickness. So I got about half an hour in me before I'm like, all right, I got to set this down or I'm going to throw up.
I feel like you and I have sort of flip-flopped. Like I used to get more. I don't know if it's that I'm attributing it to games getting better and graphics getting smoother or whatever, but I used to get more motion sick than you did. Like when we would play Uncharted or something together, you'd go for a while. I'd play for a bit. I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. And now, like, I went through Fallen Order. I was fine, and you can't do that. I'm swinging around as Spidey, and you did that for about 30 seconds, and then you had to take a breather.
I did it for about 30 seconds, 5 of which I was swinging. The other 25 I was running.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit of background here on DC Future State. Sorry, I'm seeing some of the stuff happening as we're recording this. It's really kind of unsettling. I apologize. In Future State Swamp Thing #1, you've got writer Ram V, artist Mike Perkins. They imagine a future that has driven humanity to the shadows, where Swamp Thing is not a creature lurking in the trees anymore, but a ruler over them, and where the green has taken root, not just as overgrowth in what used to be cities, but as a family, Swamp Thing can call his own. And the other one, of course, as you mentioned, is Wonder Woman #1. That's pretty incredible to see that coming out as well. Featured from writer-artist Joelle Jones. It's another story of the next version of Wonder Woman. This time, the new South American Wonder Woman, Yara Flor, is going to be showing up here and being a part of this Wonder Woman universe. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see as well. So maybe it is time to pick this all back up again, Mikey. I don't know. Is it all digital now? Because obviously you can't go to comic book stores, right? So you just buy it digitally. And you can...
for a while, I mean, I used to be the guy that went to the comic book store every Wednesday. For a while, have been buying comics digitally on my iPad. I really enjoy it. I like reading comics on the iPad. I think today's a good day. I mean, if you haven't picked up comics for a while, these are all number ones. It's kind of outside the continuity of everything else. It's a great way to sort of dive back in. And, I think hopefully a lot of times when you have these sort of events that the comic books companies do, it's like these are new characters for a few weeks and then we're going to get back to the old characters. And we know that after 2 months, we are going back to the old thing. This is sort of a big event. But I do think they're putting enough firepower behind it that hopefully, kind of in the way that we've talked about with Miles Morales and certain other characters, that if these characters do hit, if they do become popular, maybe we will see them not only in mainline DC, but continuing on. Like we already know that the new Wonder Woman is going to get her own show on the CW, so it'll be interesting to see which of these characters hit and if DC can sort of get their own version of the popularity of Miles Morales.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. All right, let's move on, and we'll keep. We'll definitely let you know if we're going to do a review of some of these books here on the Geek Buddies, and keep a tab on the future state stuff. Hopefully, it takes off like a rocket. Let's jump on to our next thing. What's our next topic here, Mike?
Well, one of the things that we cover every time it comes up is J.K. Rowling and her comments. Although this time it was not J.K. Rowling who made a comment, but comedian Eddie Izzard. Eddie Izzard was doing one of her big marathon charity events, and as part of the promotion of the undertaking was doing interviews, and somebody asked her about J.K. Rowling's comments about trans women because Eddie Izzard now identifies with she and her pronouns.
Yep.
So given that Eddie Izzard has kind of come out as she and her, and I believe considers herself non-binary, but prefers the she and her pronouns. People obviously asked her about her thoughts on J.K. Rowling, and Eddie Izzard actually surprised everybody, not by saying that she fully embraces everything about J.K. Rowling, but saying that she actually personally did not find J.K. Rowling transphobic. And so the exact quote that Eddie said was, "I don't think J.K. Rowling is transphobic. I think we need to look at the things she has written about in her blog. Women have been through such hell over history. Trans people have been invisible too. I hate the idea we are fighting between ourselves, but it's not going to be sorted with the wave of a wand. I don't have all the answers. If people disagree with me, fine. But why are we going through hell on this?" Interesting perspective from Eddie Izzard. Obviously very different from the perspective that a lot of other people in the trans community have. But even in our comments below, as we bring up these J.K. Rowling issues and have covered sort of her comments and her postings and everything, there have been people in the comments below that also similarly say and point out often that there are other trans people in the trans community that don't feel that J.K. Rowling's comments are as dangerous or hurtful as other people feel they are. So interesting perspective from Eddie Izzard. What do you guys think about this?
I hesitate to comment on this because I am a straight male, a cisgender male. I think that's the right term.
You did very good. Very good.
Thank you. I'm learning. And it's not that difficult, people. Don't make such a big deal out of it. So to me, I see these comments and I go, look, I'm always a fan of debate and discussion and conversation, no matter what side of the fence you're on, as long as you can have a debate conversation that is respectful, that you hear the other side, you present your points of views. Debate is not necessarily about winning. It is to be understood. And I think that's essential and important. So Eddie Izzard, she has another point of view on this, felt the need to speak on it, and is basically saying, I don't like the fact that they've turned these comments have turned us against each other, as he sees two allies in women and trans people who are essentially fighting for the same thing, which is to not be invisible anymore, or second-class citizens, or underpaid, or seen as lesser than. And I think that's something as a minority I can absolutely connect to and relate to, definitely. So I applaud Eddie speaking her mind. by the same token, I also don't know if I necessarily agree. I don't think I agree, but I certainly think it's important to have a conversation about this. And I wish she had been more specific in saying what exactly are the comments that people need to reevaluate, take a look at again, reanalyze. I think it would have been nice to have actual certain points laid out rather than just a blanket statement by her. And hopefully maybe down the road, someone does ask her to be more specific about what points that J.K. Rowling laid out in her blog that we need to reevaluate or take a look at.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with John. I mean, it's an opinion of an opinion. I mean, and I do like the tone in which Eddie Izzard is using, which is one of let's come together, let's try to work this out. We don't need to be tearing each other apart over this. But again, agreeing with John, there's not a lot of specifics there other than the fact that she said, I don't think J.K. Rowling is transphobic. And I think if that is your point of view, you need to go back and look at what she actually wrote in her blog. I don't know whose opinion is going to change as a result of Eddie Izzard saying this, unless people listen and go back and reread what J.K. Rowling wrote, and maybe looking at it through Eddie Izzard's lens, maybe there'll be an opinion change. I kind of doubt it. I feel like what the die has kind of been cast with J.K. Rowling, so I doubt an opinion will change, but there's no harm in going back and reading it again, I suppose.
Yeah. I think Eddie did a great job. I think she was asked a question that she's doing a charity event. She's talking about whatever. She's doing her comedy. And because she has redefined her pronouns, this came up. And I think she did a good job of answering something that she probably didn't have all the answers on, didn't have all the specifics. And just kind of, I think as far as an off-the-cuff answer, which was basically like, I don't really want to get involved in this, I think she did a good job. I tend to agree with you guys. I do think that the bigger issue, and I think one of the things that she brings up, which I think is a valuable area to discuss, is this idea that women have been through hell, the trans community has been through hell. Whether or not you personally believe that J.K. Rowling is transphobic or not transphobic for what she says, I think the one thing that is undeniable is she, as a feminist, draws a distinction and excludes trans women from her definition of feminism. And I think when you look at the history of the women's rights movement, it is well documented that when the women's rights movement happened, they were not too keen on including lesbians in that. They were already being accused of being lesbians just for being feminists, and they weren't really welcoming to that part of the community. And so I think that there are countless times throughout history where you see marginalized groups fighting against each other as opposed to fighting against the people that are marginalizing them. So I think it is accurate to say that women who feel strongly about women's rights have a lot of stuff that they rightly should bring up and talk about. Yeah. The trans community has a lot of things that they should absolutely rightly bring up and talk about. And there is an intersection with women's rights and trans women that J.K. Rowling feels is not something that she is interested in. Now, whether you're going to call that transphobic or not, that's a fact. I mean, that is basically what she writes about and what she talks about. So I think that the conversation about how women's rights and trans women's rights should be working together as opposed to what J.K. Rowling says, I think is valuable no matter what you want to label her as. And I think that's the more valuable thing. So I do appreciate that Eddie Izzard brought up that distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think that's a good place to end that topic on. You know, there's a lot more to come from this for sure, because I think a lot of people want this to turn the corner. Yes, you're angry at the comments from J.K. Rowling, but so many people love this Harry Potter series. So many people identify with so many of the characters in the Harry Potter series. And sure, there's stuff to pick apart and analyze, and maybe rightfully so, kind of look at it a little bit in terms of representation. But overall, a lot of people find connection with these characters and have helped them through some tough times, some dark times, some rough times. And so to have it turn around in this way, or have it being able to be inextricably linked to JK is causing a lot of people issues about it, questions about it, and looking at it again. And look, this happens in all media, right? Like all of us, like, oh, a director comes out, damn it. Oh, now I got to relook at this. Or an actor comes out and then you find out, oh man. So it's like, it's all that we've all had to deal with that over the last 20 to 30 years for sure. it's just part of the game now. And so we have to look at it and make our own decisions personally about it. But I think this is something that is great to bring up for debate. Hopefully there'll be more conversation as this goes along, rather than people picking up pitchforks or torches and actually laying them down and having conversation. And then maybe afterwards you can pick up your pitchfork and torches, but at least have the conversation for God's sakes. That's all we need in this country. So we'd like that some more, I think, in this world. All right, is that everything for that?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
What's next?
All right. Well, let's move on to my favorite segment of this thing. And of course, Michael's not favorite segment of this thing. It's the Zack Snyder update. But no, this happened, I think, a day or two ago, with Zack Snyder's Justice League around the corner. We are now in 2021, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, Happy New Year to everybody. We are now in 2021. We are moving towards this March release. It feels like it's literally around the corner of Zack Snyder's Justice League. And there was a picture released that might be showing up in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think this is from some of the fan groups that are affiliated or support Zack Snyder. They dropped this picture. And remember, the original picture from the first Wonder Woman movie was this World War I picture. Of course, you have Chris Evans and Ewan Bremer there, Sayatoga, and the Native American actor behind them there with Gal Gadot, the Wonder Woman picture. That is the original Wonder Woman picture. However, there is a picture referenced in BVS, and Zack Snyder finally revealed this picture. This is the picture he revealed here. You see a samurai, you see Native Americans, you see look to be African warriors, British warriors, Persian warriors, perhaps Middle Eastern warriors, all surrounding Diana. Diana looking pretty badass. The armor looks pretty badass. However, a lot of people, after enjoying the diversity of this presentation, looked and focused on this particular area, and that is Diana holding a bunch of severed heads in her hand, which of course pretty much aligns with the Zack Snyder universe. And for a lot of you that hate the Zack Snyder universe but love Flashpoint, explain that to me. This is Wonder Woman with severed heads. So a lot of people enjoyed the picture, and then a lot of people got kind of upset that saying Wonder Woman never kills, even though there's multiple evidence of Wonder Woman killing. But this became a thing here, and I will now defer to my friend Michael Vogel about this. Michael, please, what are your opinions about this picture and about people's controversy around the severed heads that Diana's
the picture is lovely. It's a great photo. It is a photo. It is a photo that exists. It's a photo that exists in a world that Wonder Woman and the story that Patty Jenkins and team put together for the first Wonder Woman movie invalidates that photo's existence, and so it never happened. That's it. It's cool. Those are some cool looking characters. The idea that Wonder Woman was out long before she appeared in Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie, fighting in battles and making friends. Super interesting idea that within the realm of the DC choices that are made is invalidated. And so I think it's a nice photo, but the other photo with Chris Pine and team in it from the first movie, I have more of an emotional attachment to because that's the story that I know. Right. Now, I may surprise you on this one, but Wonder Woman kills.
Thank you.
That is not that the bat. I will argue for days about Superman kind of just casually snapping Zod's neck in the Man of Steel movies, or Batman. We don't need to. We don't need to argue it. We don't need to argue today. But in general, I'm saying, in the way that DC Comics for the most part defines these characters. In not just one version of the story, but in multiple versions, it is very important to Batman's ethos and Superman's ethos that they don't kill. Wonder Woman, being an Amazon from Themyscira who hails from Greek mythology, does not have that same opinion. Right. I mean, they've made that point several times. They made that point really interestingly in New Frontier, when Superman approaches Diana during the Vietnam War, and she has clearly just freed a bunch of prisoners and had them kill the soldiers. They've made that point in the entire arc with Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Maxwell Lord. Wonder Woman snapped Maxwell Lord's neck. That was the moment that he sort of became more of a Wonder Woman villain, which is why we ended up seeing him. What?
Was it casual, the snapping of the neck, or was it?
No, it wasn't actually casual. Maxwell Lord's ability to control people had him controlling superheroes in the comics, and she put the lasso of truth around him and said, "What do I need to do to stop you?" And he said, with the lasso of truth around him, "There's nothing that you can do to stop me. I'm going to continue doing this, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it." So she snapped his neck, and Superman and Batman got super, super pissed about it, and she was like, "I kill. I don't know what to tell you."
Calm down, boys.
I actually had a really interesting conversation with a comic writer that I don't want to say his name because I don't know that he would actually want this story told. But like, he had pitched a story to DC a long time ago. He had pitched a story to DC a long time ago about Wonder Woman killing a bunch of guys who had killed it was like a Matt Shepard story, who had beat up and killed a kid who was gay. And Wonder Woman lassoed truth them and they said they would continue to do it, and she killed him. Like, so I think that this controversy around Wonder Woman doesn't kill. I'm a little bit like, look, say what you want about Zack Snyder, and I could say plenty about him, but he's not the first person that says Wonder Woman kills. I got no issue here.
Yeah, agreed. Because, I mean, even the first Wonder Woman movie, I mean, she kills Ludendorff. I mean, you don't see the sword go into him, but it's very clear that he is dead. And granted, she thought he was Ares at the time, but you don't see her fretting over the fact that she did kill this guy. And if you look at any of the fight scenes, the way she's throwing dudes out windows, chances are those guys did not survive. Now, when you look at the photo, I mean, there was a really great interview that Patty Jenkins gave to Mark Maron on his WTF podcast. And she talked about her history of being involved with Wonder Woman and how she started pitching like in 06 or 07. Anytime she had a meeting with Warner Brothers, it was always, "I want to do Wonder Woman. I want to do Wonder Woman. I want to do Wonder Woman." And there was a version that she was attached to that she specifically said, she's like, it has to be more than her just lopping off heads. And so the fact that we see her holding severed heads in this photo, but at the same time, she also talks about what a great producer Zack Snyder is and what a great collaborator he is. So the fact that this is that the Crimean War photo might have been Zack Snyder's initial idea. We don't know who suggested World War I don't believe. I don't know if it was Zack Snyder changing his mind or Patty Jenkins coming in with her take. But the fact that the World War I take, I think the picture of her with Chris Pine and company is more inspiring. And the fact that they're not holding 3 severed heads. I do think that speaks to Zack Snyder's ability as a producer to hear a better idea and be like, you know what, let's go with that.
Yeah, it fits more in the vibe. And that's why Zack was like, promoting the watch along that Patty just did with Gal for Wonder Woman 1984. There is still a very strong relationship there. Much to people's some people who are against Zack Snyder, much to their chagrin, there is a strong relationship there between Patty Jenkins and Zack Snyder. She had a different vision. It worked for what she wanted to create. Zack was great to go along with it, absolutely. And you're right here, Shannon. I should have given it a little more context. It is Wonder Woman surrounded by warriors during the Crimean War, which was fought over the rights to the Holy Lands in 1853. So certainly a lot could have been explored there with the idea of Holy Lands and what have you. And this is the Nerd Queens are the ones who posted this picture. So I want to make sure I give them credit for sure in that respect. So there you go. But there's also a colorized version of the photo, which I think kind of loses a little bit of the of the feel of it being an older photo. So that there. But I got no problems with this. But this is once again the approach that Zack Snyder wanted to have. Was a less hand-holding, stroking your hair, let's walk into the sunshine approach. It was more of a brutal, realistic, grittier approach to superheroes. It wasn't casual. It was on purpose, and they wanted to do certain things. And I think whether you like it or not, I'm just saying his approach was more than this.
First of all, I got no issue.
I thought we weren't debating.
I mean, I'm just saying I have no issue. I have no issue with this picture. And had they decided to go with this version of her showing up from Themyscira in Man's World earlier, all the better. I think Shannon is correct that he sat down with Patty Jenkins, came up with a better idea. But as Shannon pointed out, Wonder Woman kills in Wonder Woman in her movie. So this idea that Zack Snyder's version of Wonder Woman was a more brutal, more anything like. The story is the same. Like, Bruce Wayne found a photo of her. He uncovered it. Zack Snyder was like, it would have been in the Crimean War. Patty Jenkins was like, no, let's make it World War One. But she's pretty much the same character. I don't feel like this is some sort of alternative Wonder Woman who is way more violent.
Carrying around tokens that are heads of the people you killed is very much in the realm of Vietnam, where some soldiers carried around ears of the Vietnamese people that they killed as tokens of the amount of kills that they had. It is a more brutal approach to war where you carry around the tokens. We've seen this other warriors carry around like the tooth of the lion they killed. Sorry, the teeth or the tooth of the lions they killed or the animals they've killed, or they carry around, hair, strands of hair of the people they've killed. Indians had that with the Native Americans, rather, with scalping. There has been, it lends itself to a more brutal approach to war versus being a necessary soldier in a war. The idea of taking tokens adds a whole nother element to it. I'm not saying that there isn't similarities to the two approaches.
Listen,
saying when you start carrying around 7 heads, it's a whole nother ballgame.
I mean, I actually agree with John here, because even in Gal Gadot's expression in the photos, there is a difference. There is sort of the bloody conquering warrior vibe that you get from Gal Gadot versus the sort of noble, what's the word I'm looking for? Noble hero, I guess, that the other picture gives us vibes.
I think a picture might be worth 1,000 words, but y'all are writing a novel. That's what I think. That's what I think is happening here.
It's a good novel, God damn it. I think the three of us are awaiting this Zack Snyder Justice League, because I think the three of us are going to have a really good time debating it, discussing it, tearing it to pieces, or loving it and raising it up to the rafters. It's going to be fun. But certainly, Zack, once again, this picture shows he was not going to pull any punches, and he has said this very, very clearly. His vision was a more adult approach to superheroes, a more adult approach to these characters. It does not mean that he wasn't eventually swinging all the way back to a more noble, heroic approach to the world. He just wanted these heroes to go through a little more of a harder edge there. And he didn't casually snap Zod's neck. That was a very conflicted, emotional moment, and he felt that there was no other option, and then let out a scream of screams of utter pain. So I take issue with the word casually.
At what point in the movie do that? Never mind. We're not even going to do that. Let's move on. Next subject.
We'll do a watch along of Man of Steel, the three of us. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Anyway, all right. What do you say, Mikey? Maybe
only if Mikey Christmas joins us.
Oh Lord, that's a battle for the ages. The four of us on there. All right. Anyway, all right. Let's take a quick break. That's all our first section of Geek Buddies news. We're gonna take a quick break for about 5 seconds, and then jump into our main topic, talking all about Batman and what is up next for him and that character in the new revamped DCEU.
Or them.
Yes, better. Well said.
Batman.
Maybe he'll no. I guess he can't show up. The poor Adam West has passed away. All right. Anyway, our main topic today is talking about this situation that's been going on for the last couple of days here. Walter Hamada did an interview last week with the New York Times. And one of his comments, one of his responses had been taken by some people to mean that Michael Keaton would be the main Batman going forward. His comments about how Zack Snyder's Justice League is essentially a cul-de-sac. By the way, you can go into a cul-de-sac and drive out of it, as we talked about last week. So not 100% the finality that people thought. And they took this comment, and I saw some pretty notable websites and notable Twitter people, take this comment and say, this means Michael Keaton is going to be the Batman in the new DCU. He's coming back. We're getting Batman Beyond. We're getting all of this stuff. And eventually the writer of the piece, I think it's Aaron Brooks is his name, came out and said, Jesus, I take a few hours off to pack up my apartment or my place to move into a new place, and all hell breaks loose on social media. In no way did Walter Hamada say that Michael Keaton is the only Batman, will be coming back as the Batman in the DCU. This is just a comment he made about the current thing. And then other people started speculating that maybe we're only going to get Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton in a one-off here, in essence, a little bit in the Flash movie as a bit of a one-off. But people still want this Michael Keaton as essentially the older Bruce Wayne teaching the younger heroes. Does not mean he ever has to don the cowl again. So speculation has been running rampant about all of this. Of course, we have Zack Snyder's Justice League coming. And for all his comments about, I don't think there'll be a sequel to this and blah, 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 you know that there's probably some scenes that could lend themselves to him coming back and doing an alternate sequel to this version of the Justice League and this Batman. We have the Batman coming out next year with Matt Reeves directing it and starring Robert Pattinson. There was some controversy around that this week as well, with Robert Pattinson saying that he was frustrated about how long it's taking to do this. And so on. So we've got a lot of Batman, Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, and Robert Pattinson. We haven't heard from Christian Bale yet. We don't know what's going on with that. Mikey, I go to you. Your feelings about all of this. Are you excited about all this? Does this feel confusing, or do you think DC is on the right path with all this?
I am excited. I'm going to say something that I don't know is true at all, but I'm going to give you, having been someone who's worked at studios on the other side of things, here's how this information read in my mind.
Okay.
Walter Hamada interview happens. Michael Keaton's the new Batman. They talk about the Pattinson Batman and the new Batman. Reporter is asked, did Walter Hamada say, when he talked about the other Batman, did he say that was Michael Keaton? He says, yeah. Internet blows up. Couple hours later, he's like, whoa, I leave for a few minutes. That's not what I meant at all. Which to me, all I could think of in my head is like, well, somebody got a call from Warner Brothers PR. Like this reads so much to me like, yeah, Michael Keaton's a new Batman. That's what they're doing. That's the plan. That's the direction they're going. We've talked about this on the show. Shannon has said it's like he's the new Nick Fury. Like it clearly seems to be the direction they're going in. For whatever reason, they don't want to announce it yet. They want to wait and see whatever. And this reporter kind of scooped something he maybe wasn't supposed to scoop, got yelled, got his hand slapped, came out on Twitter, said, no, that's not what I meant, guys. Obviously, I would have said that if that's what I meant, but no way. I think that's what it is. Like, I think to me, and I could be completely wrong. Like I said, I don't have anyone at Warner Brothers telling me that he got his hand slapped. This is completely my experience from being at studios, reading this from the outside going, I think somebody got in trouble. I mean, I've gotten in trouble. Yeah. I've gotten that thing where I would tweet something and somebody at Hasbro or somebody else, hits me up and is like, you should not have done that. And then I have to go to Twitter and be like, whoops, that's not what I meant at all. So it sounds like that's what's happening. And yeah, to answer the bigger question, yes, I think when they talk about the two Batmans that they have moving forward, I think Robert Pattinson is in his own standalone, having nothing to do with the bigger universe Batman story. I think Ben Affleck is going to show up in Flashpoint and die. And I think that Michael Keaton is going to be there at the end, and he's going to become the new Batman. And for reasons yet to be explored that we don't know, he's not going to go back to his own reality, thus giving us an older Batman to work with all of these younger heroes in the DC extended universe, and a younger Batman figuring things out on his own in a standalone Batman story in the Reeves-Pattinson universe.
Wow, Shannon, that's a strong statement from Mikey, thinking Affleck's going to die in this Batman. I hadn't even considered that they would kill off Ben Affleck's Batman, but maybe that's part of him coming back, kind of like Han Solo and Harrison Ford. Yeah, I'll come back, but you kill me this time, God damn it. What do you think, Shannon? Do you agree with Michael's comments? Do you like what DC is doing, or do you have a different opinion on this one?
In terms of the hand getting slapped, I've never worked in that level at a studio, so I can't say whether or not that makes sense. I mean, it's certainly the way Vogel sells it, that certainly sounds plausible.
Yeah.
But in terms of the story, yeah, I mean, that was first reported over the summer, and I think it was a reporter from the Hollywood, somebody from the Hollywood Reporter. I think it was kind of speculation on their part, but it could be sort of like that speculation of like, I've been told what's going to happen. I'm going to write this as speculative, but really this is what's going to happen.
Right.
Again, I think DC is. They're making the most of what they have right now. I think they recognize the missteps that they've made in the past, and as Vogel has said many times, they created themselves a big Batman problem by making Batman this older, semi-retired crime fighter. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely think Ben Affleck has to die in order, like whatever this multiverse level event that happens,
right.
Ezra's Flash has to go find another Batman to kind of help them get their world back in order. Right. And using sort of this elder statesman Batman, that makes sense because, you know, you're trying to launch your young Batman universe. Keep that as it is, because it looks like they're going to be going very gritty, very real, very crime on the street. I don't see them at this point, at least, using Batman's larger than life adversaries like Mr. Freeze or Clayface in that universe, but they would be able to use them in the DCU that they have established, that has Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, that has Jason Momoa's Aquaman, that has Zach Levi's Shazam. And, you know, we have Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam coming. I have to assume that is going to take place within this universe, that the main DC universe. So I think it's a smart move, and I certainly hope that's what they do. Again, we don't know for sure. I mean, what does this mean for him going forward playing the Vulture? Is he going to show up in Jared Leto's movie in Morbius and that's it? Or are we going to see him more? I have to think that there would be conversations that DC and Marvel might not be totally jazzed at someone playing two prominent roles in their universes, but at this point, like, we never thought the Snyderverse was going to happen, or the Snyder Cut was going to happen. So anything is possible.
Yeah. Mikey?
No, I was just going to say, the main reason I think Ben Affleck is going to die, I think Shannon is correct. If you're going to have a Michael Keaton, it would have been a kind of 50-50. Is Michael Keaton going to show up as a big event, but then he's going to go away and Ben Affleck will carry on Batman? But I don't think Ben Affleck wants to. Like that. Yeah. The main reason that I think Batfleck is going to die is because I think that for the story to make sense that they want to tell, it makes sense that Flashpoint would be a handoff. It makes sense that you have this Batman who we've been with for 3 movies, including this one.
Suicide Squad. Right?
3 movies, yeah.
Yeah.
That he's gonna like exit. He's gonna go out because Ben Affleck's like, look, I'm not into this anymore, and so we're gonna have Michael Keaton stay on. You could have just as easily done it the other way if I felt like Ben Affleck was really into this and wanted to stay, but I don't think he is. I think that you might get, to Shannon's point, there's the possibility that we could continue to have Batfleck cameos. That's like if you're doing a Black Adam story and you go back to like Black Adam in his early days and whatever, and we do a cameo where he meets a younger Batman and that Batman is Ben Affleck, but the main Batman in our universe is Michael Keaton. Like, there's ways that they could actually play this and have fun with it depending on if Ben Affleck is game. But I really kind of do think that the direction they're going is, let's do these younger Batman stories with Robert Pattinson and let's use Michael Keaton. And I also think that DC has to be aware that the day that they announced Michael Keaton coming in as Batman, the internet exploded in a way that that it doesn't always explode for DC news. I'm not saying that there's not a subset. That subset is not even fair. That's not a fair statement. The people who are hardcore DC people are always really on board for DC news, and they always get excited. When the Michael Keaton news about him coming in as Batman, that excitement extended beyond the hardcore DC fans to everybody. And that is what Warner Brothers, from a business standpoint, wants. They know that the hardcore DC fans are showing up. But the idea that Michael Keaton coming in as Batman could actually extend the reach of the DC movies and increase the popularity, increase the box office, increase the reach that those movies have, makes me think that they would do pretty much anything they could to stick with that plan and say, let's keep him around.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of keeping Affleck around, in my personal opinion. But Mike, you might be absolutely right. You know, some actors are like, I played it. It didn't work out the way I wanted to work out. Let me have a graceful exit in this way. And Warner Brothers was, you know, they gave him a graceful exit to a degree when they moved on from him and, you know, had Matt Reeves take this thing over. Ben Affleck said all the things that you're supposed to say, and then eventually moved away from the situation. And of course, for real reasons, real honest reasons, with his addiction problems, his substance abuse problems that he was enduring there, all of that rearing its ugly head, unfortunately for him, but him navigating it out. We see, look, people made fun of him trying to pick up those Dunkin' Donuts, but he looks jacked. So he looks ready. I mean, fuck the Dunkin' Donuts. Hope he looks ready. He could crush the bag like this. He just looks ready to step back into that Batfleck costume. So I'm glad to see that. There are a lot of people speculating, could we get a live action Dark Knight Returns with him as that Bruce Wayne? But I think that ship has kind of sailed. They used elements of it in BVS, so I would be surprised if they go that route. But remember, Jared Leto's Joker is supposedly involved in this. It could be something to have that Joker kill that Batman in some way, which in essence kind of triggers some things here in the multiverse, in essence, of what they're doing in Flashpoint. Yeah. So that could be an interesting way to explore that character and what happens to him as well, and give him an exit where he is like ennobilized for a lot of the fans for what he did with the character and how he went out. So there are certainly things here they can play with. I'd love to see him come back and down the road. You're right. Flashbacks could work. Maybe if they do another, like I said, another sequel to Zack Snyder, maybe you bring him back. But if they do the death route, you got to do it right, or else the fans will be even more upset. They brought him back to mess up his death.
Yeah, he's not my favorite Batman of the Batmans, obviously, given my feelings about the Snyderverse. But if you're going to kill Batman, you better do it right. I mean, even I want him to have a good death. I hadn't heard the Jared Leto stuff until you just said it. Jared Leto will be the happiest guy in the world if he's the one Joker who actually gets to kill Batman.
That's for
like
sure.
he's so mad.
Finally stand out. Yeah, exactly.
He's so mad about how it all went down for him that if he's the one Joker that gets to do it, great for Leto. Give it to him. I think it'll be interesting. The other thing that I think that you can't not talk about if you talk about this route with him is the Terry McGinnis of it all.
Yeah,
is the that by bringing in a Michael Keaton Batman who's an older Batman, you open yourself up to being able to introduce a Terry McGinnis into the DC extended cinematic universe. I've seen a lot of people who don't want that to happen because they love how Batman Beyond takes place with the same actors years later and whatever, and that doing it this way would sort of be cobbling together some things. But even Marvel does that. Like, they take their big stories and they cobble them together. And I think the opportunity to sort of have Michael Keaton playing an older Batman with Momoa, with Godot, with Ezra Miller, with everybody, and then having a younger actor come in to be a Terry McGinnis with those people, like that gets me excited about the DC universe, even though I'm still a little hesitant on the directions they're going. That could be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Absolutely, for sure. Any final words on this, gentlemen? Any final words to cover on this one?
I mean, what, Flash is supposed to come out in November of 2022, I believe. So, we've got a long time to wait and to debate. But I imagine that whatever happens, we will have a great time discussing it.
Yeah, and before we wrap, real quick, do you guys think they're making too much of the Robert Pattinson thing where he said that Matt Reeves is doing a number of takes or people are frustrated? I feel like there's been no reputation with Matt Reeves in any of his movies beforehand that he is some kind of taskmaster or perfectionist. The fact that he wants to get this right just speaks to the volume of attention to detail, maybe, that he wants to make sure he gets here. And maybe he's a director who understands this project and knows that with Pattinson to do this role, he's got to push Pattinson to the point of exhaustion, maybe, to get what he wants to get from this character. But do you think that this is just a lot of smoke, or do you think there's some validity to some of these complaints?
I think there's definitely there's a good deal of smoke, but at the same time, like and this is years ago, but when they were talking about Joaquin Phoenix playing Doctor Strange, I was like, that is a terrible idea. You don't hitch your franchise wagon to crazy. And while I don't think Robert Pattinson is on the level like the Joaquin Phoenix the roller coaster that he's been on, as good an actor as I do think Pattinson is, there was an element of that. I was like, I don't know, is this the right guy to hitch your wagon to? Because he does seem like the type that'll be like, I'm out, and he's done.
Okay.
I also think. Look, I think that COVID has made everything slow down. I think that whatever this process on the Batman has had to slow down naturally because of a global pandemic. And so even if Matt Reeves in general is kind of, oh, I'm going to take my time, that is exacerbated by this process that has made everyone's process of everything drag on. Yeah. So.
Yep, true, for sure. So, all right, well, anyway, one last thing. There are rumors floating around that RDJ might be Thrawn in a live action Thrawn. What do you think?
Out of here. I'm with Laura. I saw Laura tweet this yesterday, and I'm with her. That is
friend of the show, Laura Kelly. Yes.
Get out of here. Get out. Come on, guys.
Come on.
By the way, this is absolutely one of those things that, like, if it happened and they came out and they're like, surprise, he's doing it, I would happily eat my words. I would see Robert Downey Jr. do anything. But come on, he just played Iron Man for like 10 years. He's clearly tired of it. He did the thing. He's done. He's not going to jump in and do this. Come on. Like, there are other actors.
I'm just throwing it out there.
When I think of Thrawn, again, I will never not think of Lars Mikkelsen.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, that guy is Thrawn. But if you're gonna get a Thrawn, I don't know, like RDJ. As much as I love Robert Downey Jr., and of course, he could do it. But it's like, nah. Yeah. give it to Lars Mikkelsen. Give it to Jason Isaacs.
You want a tall? I don't give it to Jason Isaacs. No, you want a tall.
You don't like Jason Isaacs?
Not in that character. No, I don't think so.
Oh.
He's a bit long in the tooth to play Thrawn, in my opinion. I think you want someone.
He basically played Thrawn on Discovery, kind of. I mean, like he.
That's a good point.
Yeah, he played Revolutionary War Thrawn in The Patriot.
Yeah, but that was 20 years ago. Like I said, you might as well get Gibson out of it then. But anyway,
I heard a rumor that Danny DeVito is going to play Thrawn.
No, mini Thrawn. All right, that's it. Let's get out of here. Thank you all so much for watching or listening to this episode of Geek Buddies. We can't thank you enough for your continued support and your love of the show. It's 2021, so there's plans for more. There's conversations for us to do more stuff here at the Geek Buddies, more reviews, more. We just kind of impromptu talked about possibly doing a review of the book. So keep your eye out on all the stuff we got coming in 2021 as we keep expanding the brand and what Geek Buddies can do here on the Outlaw Nation channel and on its own podcast feed. Shannon, what do we got to tell them?
You lousy first order. You're giving me all the signals. If you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's @geek_buddies. On Instagram, @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, @Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is @MK2. And if you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is @The Rocha Says.
Mr. Michael?
Look, we love it. We're happy to be here in the new year. We're happy it's 2021. We are happy to say goodbye to 2020, but we are also happy to welcome all the people that joined us last year, and we hope that we continue that into 2021. So, some things that you guys can do for us: definitely hit the like button below, subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw page. There is a ton of awesome content, much of it starring the three of us.
Yep.
Leave some comments below. We definitely love to check those out. We definitely will respond to you. If you agree with us, disagree with us, we're on board with all of it as long as we have an awesome and cool conversation. And beyond that, if you are listening to us on Anchor or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate us there, give us some stars, leave us some comments. It helps us go up in the rankings so that when people search for entertainment podcasts, they find the three of us. And the most important thing that you can do is to give your own seal of approval to the Geek Buddies. So share this link, post it on Twitter, post it on social media, send it to your friends. Hey, have you guys checked these guys out? They talk about all the geeky things. They're a ton of fun. We know that a lot of you guys have been doing that. We appreciate it. We thank you for it. It has worked. We have been getting more and more followers and more comments, and we love it. So let's make 2021 the geekiest one yet, and let's see what we can do.
Absolutely. Echo everything my two fellow Geek Buddies said and more. Thank you all so much for watching or listening this week, and we will talk to you next week with another brand new episode of the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey!